We are here. We are back and we are ready to rock.
Yes.
How y'all doing? Hi, Jeanette. It's Friday. Having fun with J&J. And it is a beautiful spring day. It is April already, people. And we are still rocking and rolling. And we have a special guest for you. You know how we are always talking to y'all about making your business professional, getting all the support you need to make your crafting your artisan business, making a go of it. We know you're brilliant. We know you're talented. We know you have gifts from God, but not all of us, and I will say that's me too. We don't do money well. We don't do the finances well.
I'm like, if I can write a check for the rent.
I'm still digging in between the seats of my car because I know I dropped a quarter in there somewhere. So sometimes we have to take a look, and springtime is the best time to do this because holidays are over. You're kicking off your winter doldrums, and now you're getting down to business. The sun is out, and you may have all of your craft business in order, but we think that you need some boosting in the financial arena. So we found the most marvelous guy. I'm outnumbered here. They're East Coast, I'm West Coast. So it's 2-1. But we are so delighted to have Steve Kent with us. He is a financial services advisor, and he's got a great thing going on. And I think we can glean a little bit, if not a lot, of information from him. So I'm going to hand Jeanette over because she's the I'm the intro, and she's the intro cookie.
Oh yes, I am Jeanette, the other half of J&J, and we're having such a good time. But I met Steve on a platform, and I just fell in love with what he said because I'm one of those people that me and finance do not get along. So it's like even when I had my own business in a bakery, my sister was the one that would say, Jay, that's too low. You're not going to make any money. I'm like, God, I don't want to deal with that. Here, you take it. I just don't want to deal with it. I just want to make the cake. Why are you ruining my day? That was kind of me. So when I heard what he did and the marvelous things that he does, I was like, we need that for crafters, because I know if a lot of them are like me, and I look at Jenny and I go, yeah, she's like me. So we're going to need a finance guy. So, Steve, thank you for coming on. It's such a pleasure to have you here. So I always ask everybody that comes in, how did you start? Like, what made you come up? Hey, I'm going to wake up one morning and be the finance guy. How did you get that?
So, first of all, let me thank both of you for being here today and this opportunity. It's a great day. Yes, it's April. Getting away from the holidays, looking forward to Mother's Day, Father's Day, and all those things in between. So yeah, things are good. But how I got started, I spent 32 years in corporate in the IT world, and I realized that I was building somebody else's dream. So you work all kinds of crazy hours. I traveled 50% overseas for years. Can't tell you how many anniversaries, birthdays, graduations I missed that you can never get back. And yes, I do regret it now, but it's too late. So I left corporate in early 12, true story, sat down in front of the mirror and said, okay, Steve, now that you're 54, what do you want to do when you grow up? True story. So I spent all of 2012 trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I came across a company that allowed me to do what I wanted to do, which was help people. And it turned out to be a franchise. I'm not going to tell you which one because I'm keeping the name out of it. Right. But it was a good company. And I went, looked at it, talked to the management, did all the right things. Opened up in January of 13. I'm telling you this for a reason. It lasted 2 years, and it failed because costs were too high because the franchise required certain things. And when you don't get enough business in the front door, you can't last that long. But what I realized after the business closed, now, mind you, I have a BBA in accounting. My clientele was the C-suite of major corporations. Not a single person understood basic finance 101.
Mm. So they were worse than me, huh?
They were, and these are, I'm talking senior level executives. So I bounced around a little bit. And then I realized one day, because I met somebody who was much better in finance than I was, and I realized I was what they term financially illiterate.
Yep.
Seriously.
And I would say that 99% of the people are.
Yeah.
Well, statistics, you're not far off. Statistics say that 70% of the population, smart, caring, want to do better, but have never been taught.
See, I always taught, and I have two children, a boy and a girl, and when it was my daughter, and she can correct me when I was wrong, I was telling her about finances at a young age, even at 5 years old, going to the Dollar Tree, getting $5, go get your change, and things like that.
Right.
In school, they barely touch on it. Like when I went to school, we all had a finance class, money business class. They don't have that now.
No, they don't. And so now I'm going to get off on a tangent. You can stop me anytime.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
Because this strikes a chord, and I get a little crazy at this
You
moment.
okay? You got an hour. That go for it.
We want you now.
People are not taught basic finance in school, in work, and in life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not supposed to be taught because major corporations make all their money because they dictate what people do. So I'll give you two examples, and I hope I don't tick somebody off, but that's my opinion, and it's sorry. I'll give you first example is a bank. They advertise and market, put your money in a bank. It's safe. It's secure. Well, first of all, it's not safe and secure. So forget that. Second of all, the return they give you, if you're lucky, is 1%. If you're lucky, it's usually less. So that's the first challenge. You're told to put money in, and they take your money and make a lot of money with it. So again, corporate profit. Second example is a credit card. The average credit card in this country is 20%. Average. So
you could get it better from a loan shark.
You probably could. But what happens though is not only is a credit card average 20%, but everybody is told credit card companies love you. They love you. They're giving you another card. They're giving you bigger balances. They love you by telling you pay minimum $20 a month. They love you.
Yeah, because of the interest.
Bingo. They don't, if you charge $1,000, they don't want the $1,000.
Right.
They want the $5,000 to $10,000 over your lifetime you're going to pay because you're paying minimum every month. And again, this is part of what I explain to people. We all work really, really hard for our money. We all do. Everybody does. And again, I believe everybody is a good person, wants to do better, but again, not taught how. Starts with the credit cards. If you have a credit card, great. A rewards card is even better. But the key, and it's a mindset, the key is if you charge, pay it off.
Yeah. Before the interest kicks in. People don't understand this.
Yep.
There's a cycle.
There is.
And there's a cutoff on your credit card. And if you pay the day after it's cut, you're going to pay the interest.
Right.
If you pay the day before. You're going to just pay what you owe.
Yep.
And it's a really, this is a drug. And I am so part of the whole scenario. They give it to kids at 18, sign a credit card.
You're preaching to the choir.
Understand it. They're in debt $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, which maybe to some people is not a lot. But if you're a barista, if you're a student, if you an Uber person, you're never going to get caught up.
Correct. And they want that.
Yep.
See, that whole process is what I call the credit card scam. And I have a presentation on that.
Yes.
And I give examples of if you pay minimum, pay more than minimum, how many years it's going to take you to pay it off. Yeah, if ever. Yeah, I do that stuff.
Let me tell you, I once had a card. The balance was only $300, right? By the time, I kept paying it, the minimum and stuff like that. And I noticed it would never go down. I was like, what the heck is going on? I was paying the minimum, but the interest was more than a minimum. So it kept increasing. By the time I paid it off, it was $900.
Yep.
Do you know, they just had a congressional hearing a couple of months ago with the credit card companies. Some of them are up now, Steve, to 34%.
I saw one at 37.
And they're when you start to feel sorry for them for whatever reason, they're making over 100% profit.
Oh yeah,
business does that. If you have a business and it costs you $10 to create it, and you charge $20, to sell, you're still not making 100%. They make over 100% profit.
There's a company out there that's
the tallest buildings. The tallest buildings. Look at the top. They have Citibank. Citibank isn't making money off of their banking.
No, they're getting
making money off your $20 in your savings account. They're making money off your credit card.
In New Jersey, they have a huge stadium called MetLife Stadium. Need I say more?
I met something worse. And this is, what's worse out there than a credit card? And everybody goes to them? Payday cash advance.
Yes.
Worse. The worst.
It is worse.
Have up to
that's offering
300% payback.
Yep.
That is crazy, and they get away with it.
They get away with it because people keep doing it.
They keep doing it. And
if people would stop, they would stop.
Make it easy. Anything that says they're going to give you something, it's because they're going to get something in return. We have to be adults. I think, Steve, part of this is being an adult sucks. I mean, it does. You get all these. My kids look at me and they said, "Mom, you didn't prepare me for this." I said, "I did, but you didn't pay attention." I said, to us, to the kids, adults think like, we get to go places, we get to do things that kids don't get to do, but it kicks in that you're an adult and finances are an adult thing. And we don't want to deal with it. We want to play, but I had a friend of mine who passed away, older gentleman, friend of my friend's father, had the same little house, bought it for $12,000 back in the 50s. It was now worth $2 million because it's in California. Little 1,200 square foot. He was worth like $7 million when he died. He didn't have a single credit card.
Yep.
He didn't have a single credit card, and his credit was cruddy because he did not have a credit card. The only thing he had was a cell phone. His car was paid for. His house was paid for. He had insurance policies. He had his estate set up. Only problem with that was his estate planner was older. He did not add a couple of investments.
Gotcha.
And so he ended probating some of it and not parting the other. But he was a cop. He wasn't like
it's how you handle your money.
But he didn't give his money away.
Right.
in order to think he was making more. Like you can rent a Maserati right now.
Yeah.
You can go and rent it
Right.
for the day, and everybody you drive down the street, people say, "Oh, you're really rich. You're driving a Maserati." No, the dude's
So,
just living in a rental one bedroom, downtown.
so I ask people the question,
Uh-oh.
what is the best car you can ever own?
Oh, that's a good question. I have
What's
a Kia
Best car
Soul,
you-
one that's paid off.
That is the answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is?
That is the answer. The best car you can ever own is one that has no car payments.
Oh my
My
God.
last car was 14 years old. I just traded it in 3 months ago because it was really falling apart.
Oh
But
my
it was
God.
I didn't have a payment for 9 years.
Wow.
Car
see,
rode well.
Let me ask you something on that, Steve, because the price of automobiles has risen exponentially, probably triple what they
Mhm.
were. Like
Right.
my first car was a used Mustang. Now I wish I had it. I paid $900 for it.
Oh, I had an Isuzu iMark.
But
Okay.
now, like for instance, as a notary, I go through cars like crazy because of the
Right.
mileage. I do 55,000 miles a year.
Mhm.
Okay.
I cannot buy a new car because as soon as I drive it off the lot, it's already depreciated.
Correct.
And by the time I pay it off in 5 years,
Hmm.
it will have technically 250,000 miles on it,
Hmm.
and it won't be worth anything.
Yeah, the
Correct.
way you drive. Yeah.
The way I look at it at this point is once I get, and you'll probably yell at me, if I want a new car, I would rather lease it and write it off on my business
Correct.
because I have a new car. I don't have to worry about anything. Every 2 years, I get a new car, and then my business will take care of it. Because
So, yep.
is
I
that
will tell
correct?
you, I owned cars my entire life. In December, when my other car just kind of got towed away because it had reached this point, I leased for the first time. And I was concerned about the mileage because I only took 10,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told, so if you go over an extra couple of thousand miles, pay the little bit that you have for the overage and mileage, get rid of it and get another one and write it off on taxes. So I'm right there with you, Jenny, right there with you.
Oh my
Yep.
You
God.
have a newer car, don't have to worry about anything, you give it back in.
Huh.
Yep. And that's would be my next move because
Yep.
I can't buy a complete clunker because I have to be able to have it. Like I have a Toyota, which is, I have 167,000 miles on it. I put 100,000 miles on it in less than 2 years.
Wow.
Oof.
So
Okay.
I know, like I have people that like someone called me. They've had their car for 4 years and they've got like 18,000 miles on it. Like
That's me. I just hit 29. I only got 2 more years on my car to pay off, and it only has 20, 25.
oh Lord, I
Because
can't.
I don't drive anywhere. I'm retired.
Exactly. But see,
But that's a good thing. You'll keep it for a long time.
Yeah.
people
No
have to
payments.
start thinking how if you can't work it this way, there's an option to work it this way. And if you get, I'm going to go back a little bit too. So after you finished the business, that didn't work.
Oh, okay. So
Wow.
I bounced around a little bit, and then I met someone who was much more advanced. Everybody was much more advanced at that point than I was in the finance world. And I got an education, which was an amazing eye-opener. They did what they called a financial checkup. It was free. It was confidential. And I gave them my income, my assets, my expenses, and liabilities, or however that goes, and gave them the information. And then they gave me real time on the screen was how my money was allocated in various different ways.
Huh.
And I looked at that and I went, holy cow. I'm trying to keep it clean.
Yeah.
I went, holy cow. I never understood, never knew, never. And that session, that 1 hour session that somebody showed me, changed my entire life.
Wow.
And that got me back into the field. I went and I got my retook all my, because I had before, but I retook all my licenses. And now I love helping people doing the same thing for them. It's a free 30-minute confidential, and it really wakes people up as to what they're spending, what they're saving or not, how their money is allocated for a growth perspective, how it's allocated. Did you know that, well, we all know we have to pay taxes. Okay, I'm not going to get into that whole thing because again, I'll go off on a
whole
tangent.
different show. You could come back to that one.
But did you know that you have a say in how much you pay and when you pay?
Wait, what?
Taxes. You have a say, income taxes.
Yeah.
You have a say in how much you pay and when you pay.
Huh.
Yeah. And that's also some of the things that I give and I show people. And everything that I talk to people with, no matter how many times we meet, is no charge. My goal is to educate.
Well, you
I
about
don't want,
if
if you look on my profile on LinkedIn, on Alignable, on Facebook, my why statement, I don't want people to have the same financial challenges I did. That's my why statement. Plain and simple.
I'm going to say that this is his website. And it's really funny because a lot of people don't feel that numbers are creative, but people have to start thinking about their finances as being a creative source, because it really is. That, look, the government wants you to file a W-2. They want you working on the books so that they can collect the money up front, because they don't want to have to go after you for it. So we're all willingly giving our money when we work on a W-2 situation. And most of our businesses, my business, Jeanette's businesses, we work off a 1099 system, which changes your whole thing. It does actually let you put yourself in the driver's seat, and Steve can kind of go along with me on this, I guess. But the government wants you just so they know what you have, they can count on it, and they can find it. Like they all think that 1099s have like 10 grand under their mattress. Well, we might, but we really don't, because we put it back in our businesses.
Right. See, when to me, a W-2, like you said, is a way for the government to track what you're making, make sure you pay the right taxes, and you only get certain expenses to deduct from your income.
Yep.
A 1099 is a totally different animal.
Ooh.
You're in business, and there are so many deductions that people can take. I have 5 businesses. This is my primary. I have 5 businesses, all 1099, and every single one of them has deductions. That's why I do it. And it's all legit. It's 100% legitimate. I'm not suggesting anything else, and don't do anything else because I don't want to put anybody in jail. Okay, that's not the point of my statement.
I think this is where it gets scary, because the government is a big entity, and they've got deep pockets, and they can, they can wear you out in court if you feel like, there's something done wrong.
That's why I'm saying do it legitimately.
There's totally legitimate.
Many deductions that people are not aware of that they can take to reduce their income so they pay less taxes. Has nothing to do with profit.
The government doesn't like it, and that's why they make it so difficult.
Correct.
Because if you make $100,000, say you make $100,000 on a W-2, okay, they set your tax rate. They tell you what, you do your, how many people are you dependent for? So you do 1, 2. The more you choose, the less taxes you're going to pay. the idea is that you're supposed to not have to pay any taxes after W-2, that you've all paid into the system already.
Mm-hmm.
So there are deductions now. So when you hear the politicians talk about child care credit, exemptions, that kind of thing, those are things that the government, quote, is giving you back. But it's your money, guys.
Correct.
Okay, they're up there talking about your money. A 1099, it's a business. It's a business. So you're going to be able to, if you, like Jeanette does resin, right? So she's going to deduct her cost of raw materials. She can deduct a home office. She can deduct part of her phone. She can deduct mileage if she uses it for any percentage for work. So Steve is honing in on something that every single one of our crafters should be looking into.
Yep.
You should not be commingling your money.
No.
Personal. You should not. Your husband, I know I've done this. Husband gives you money for groceries, right? You're home with the kids. Okay. You stop at Joann's, which, by the way, is not in existence anymore, bankruptcy. Go to Hobby Lobby and you say, I got to pick up some paint. And you pay with the grocery money that your husband gave you. Wrong. Because you're probably not going to deduct that. It's going to go into the grocery bill.
Right.
Or, so
have a separate credit card for the business so you can track all expenses.
Yep.
So if the government comes back and says, prove to me you spent X dollars, here's my credit card, here's my statement, line by line.
Yep.
You're right. Do not commingle funds.
Nope.
And it goes to what Jeanette and I talk about all the time about, are you a hobby or are you a business?
Right.
And I have an LLC. I have 4 DBAs under my LLC, which kills people. They're like, what? And I'm in Texas, so it's not that expensive, but it protects you and it gives you a footing to control your expenses. And it's if people don't realize what you can really write off. I mean, the Tahiti trip you can, but you got to make sure you're going to a conference or something.
Yeah. I'm as I said, do it legitimately. Please do not get in trouble. I'm not suggesting that at all. But get the help you need from a CPA. Go online and do a Google search. What deductions can a business take? And look at the long list and see what money you can put into those categories. Again, legitimate, but if you reduce your income, it's called adjusted gross income. I'm also not a CPA, so I don't understand that nonsense. But if you bring it down, then you pay tax. So your taxes are much less, more in your pocket.
So once they call you, and they do a 30-minute consult with you, what's the next step?
So the first thing I do is we show them the different ways that they can make money, grow their money. Different ways that they can not pay taxes legitimately. If they like that, then we do the 30-minute of getting down into their details. So it's an education process.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity, a good stopping point, and we're going to go ahead and show some commercials.
Oh, okay.
And we'll be right back. Okay?
I'll be here.
Creations of the heart, art that connects us.
We're
I love
back.
that
I'm
one.
always jamming at the commercial. I'm like, yeah, okay.
So before we get back into it, one of those commercials, Jeanette, I saw some of the clocks that you
Yeah.
created. Let's talk offline. I want to order a clock for my daughter.
Okay.
I have one of them. She sent me my favorite one. It's on my mantelpiece. And I love it. And I've used her when I'm doing my mock-ups for my kids' book, my cartoons. I put it on the mantelpiece as
Yeah,
a
it's like finding Waldo. Find the clock. I'm
my
like,
little clocks. They're beautiful. They really are.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Good.
You'll get a good deal.
Yep.
This is what I'm saying. We have so many. We were talking out there a little bit about. We were just meeting, and our crafters are really. They're really different. Crafters are amazing people, and they never stop crafting. If they start one thing, they'll go into another. And the reason why I'm so grateful to have you here is because we really want them to get a really good education basics so that they don't have to worry about their money. So if they get into a system where they get it set up and they're you shouldn't have to every day fetch and worry about what's going on with your finances. Is that a truthful statement? You should have it set up. You should check back in with it occasionally, but it should give you the freedom. If you do this, it'll give you the freedom to be able to create and make the things and do the things that you want to do with your business without.
Correct.
I will. She'll laugh. You know where my invoices are right now?
Yeah.
My granddaughter, who's 12. Okay, she's going to be my CFO. This is for my notary. So I run the order. I go do the order. I throw it in the bucket. I get checks. I throw them in the bucket. I have a stack from September, and I have to get them ready for. I know. Look at his face. I have to get them ready for taxes, right? Which I'm probably going to have to file an extension. I don't know.
Well,
But
today's the 4th, so yeah.
so I know, right? She's got them. And she's putting them together for me. And she's like, Grandma, you can't do this again next year. I mean, she's 12. And she's already knowing that this is not the thing to do. And when I got really busy, during COVID, I was horribly busy. I was doing like 10 a day. I was doing 10 loan closings a day.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And that means traveling. So I would, the length and breadth of San Antonio. And I would start off at 7 in the morning. I'd get home 9 o'clock at night. And I wasn't even cashing. I was just throwing it on the counter. And then I have to go back, guys, and I have to spend hours printing, reorganizing. I would take an entire weekend and just say, nobody talk to me because I have to get organized. That shouldn't happen. I'm the big, don't use me in your commercials. Don't be like Jenny. That's what you need to say.
You should put your face up with a big red line through it, And
the thing is, I know better. I do. I know absolutely better. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. But I'd rather make a commercial. I'd rather do something fun, like write another book. And so, my advice is, don't be like me. Get a good foundation. Figure it out. And get that part out. I don't know. I'm old now. I don't know if I can. I don't know if that dog's hunting anymore.
You're old. You ain't old.
You're not old.
That's what I'm saying. I don't call people old. I call people wiser in their years.
Well, if I was wiser, I would take care of my invoices as they come. But
no, what you need is a process.
I thought I had one, Steve. I threw it in the bucket. We're supposed to do it ourselves.
She throws it in a bucket.
So the goal is to get to that point where you can hire someone who will do that for you. Yeah. That's the goal. You've heard of working on the business versus in the business. Well, that's what it is.
I know.
If you're in too much,
when you're 12, you work cheap. She works for $20 and a pizza.
Okay, so let her help you.
Oh my gosh.
And for a raise in salary, throw in a drink.
Oh yeah. And
I know that now people don't call me. There's child labor laws. I understand.
I know. We're
But
joking. I
she's
get it.
12,
Yeah, yeah.
and I actually want her to learn the business. She's amazing. I was having both my grandson and my granddaughter do some little tchotchke putting together for my book, some marketing stuff. And I said, okay, I'm going to pay you guys this much money if you get it done. And my grandson, of course, says, okay, so if I quit, do I get paid? And my granddaughter pipes up and says, no, if you don't finish, you're not getting paid. And I'm like, you're my CFO. Start learning. So she's learning at a very young age
and that's
to understand business. And that's kind of why I'm doing it, because I don't want her to be
good.
And I do. But
You're smart.
Unlike me, I'm totally the opposite of Jenny. I'm totally the opposite. I'm so OCD with everything that is unreal. It's like ABC order everywhere, okay? And color coordination, and I'm that person. And then when you get to retirement age, because I'm retired military, 20 years of service, I don't got to do taxes anymore. So it's like, oh, okay. So, hey.
Okay. It works.
So I just
wish, but I think that the fact that you have a team, because you said you have a team, and it really does require that almost. And I think if you're a small business, you might be afraid to call someone like Steve to say, look, I have a small business. I don't really, well, are you going to stay small? Do you want to be small, or do you want to grow? Do you want to get bigger? So it's best to start when you're really small and build, instead of, be like me and have a mountain. And it's horrible to have to try to maneuver through it.
Oh, it is. Every business, and again, I had a small business, and again, for me, it didn't work, but I learned for the small business, because as we talked before, small business really does run this country. Big corporations think they do, but the majority of people, the majority of the revenue and everything else and income is generated through small business. So to understand what you have, understand the value that you bring is key. And that's the start of having a profitable business. You don't have to have 100 employees. You don't have to be doing $1 million of revenue. You don't. But you can still do things a certain way to minimize your expenses and get the most revenue you can, and that you're entitled to for your time, your effort, your patience, your experience. You deserve to get paid for that. Because one of the things that I learned when I had my business before it closed, people would say to me, and it was a pricey business, it was, but it was specialized and whatnot. But people would say to me, I'm not going to pay you $100. I'll pay you $75. And I would sit there and say, no. And some people would say, oh, okay. And they'd give me the 100. Some people would run out the door and I would go, bye. And I'd watch them leave. Most of those people that ran out the door came back because they realized, and this is my message to all the small business owners out there. If they come to you, they want what you have. If you discount your services, not only will they expect it going forward, but they will talk to other people. And now your profit margins just went like this. So where you could have been okay, put money away, paid the bills, taken a vacation, buy a new car, whatever you would have been able to do, now you have a challenge. So I'm not saying don't go crazy and charge $1 million for something that's 25, but if it's worth 25, legitimately worth 25, charge the 25. Don't charge 15.
That's it.
Yeah, we always talk about value. We were talking about that.
Yeah, it is. Value is key.
It's especially if, you know, like if you could go to H&R Block because we're talking taxes, right?
Mhm.
And okay, if you have a basic W-2 and it's quick and easy, that's fine. But if you're doing something that's business oriented, you're going to need someone that knows more than an HR Block person.
Absolutely.
There's a thing, and I found this from a CPA. I actually signed a CPA, and we got to talking, and I was a notary probably for like 2 years, and I have to pay all of my Social Security as a 1099. Okay, because I don't have an employer to match. He said, "Did you know that notaries are exempt?" I said, "I didn't know that." And he said, "Well, you know, you're not going to be paying into the Social Security system, but you can claim an exemption on your taxes and you don't have to pay that." So that was from no one. If I went to H&R Block, they wouldn't have told me that.
No, they don't. They don't know.
And I had people that are in taxes that did not know that. Because we're a very small niche, you know, not too many people. A lot of notaries will be married to, you know, their partner will have paid in, so that probably doesn't matter. They don't make enough money. But my income is from complete 1099 as a notary. So my tax bill would be like $18,000 just on the Social Security if I didn't claim that exemption.
Right. Wow.
Isn't that wild? So that one, and he was like the typical. He was like Ebenezer, like Bob Cratchit. Yeah, you know, if anybody's ever been in a really like good CPA's office, it's not clean. Meaning,
correct. It's not.
You got stacks of files. You got books everywhere.
It's a disorganized mess.
Complete. And I signed him on his desk in front. It was like this much room. And he said, as I went out the door, he goes, you do know you're exempt. Are you claiming that on your taxes? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? So it really does pay for you to find someone who's got your niche.
Correct. And again, to your point, do a Google search. You know, I'm this type of business. I live in whatever state you're in, looking for CPA with a specialty in. And you'll get the list. And the suggestion also is, just because you may get a few names, interview them. What's their experience? Don't just accept a name and go in and do. You don't know what their experience is. You don't know if their fees are in a range. You know, some could be all the way up. It's the same thing. Somebody who, when you're going out to look for whatever good or service, there's really 3 prices. There's the high end, the middle, and the low end. I go to the middle. But depending on the service, I may go high end. So if I need a surgeon that has a specific specialty, I don't care what you charge. My life is more important, right? But if you're going for, you know, you want to buy a notebook, average price, or go to discount store, low price, it's a notebook. So depending on what you're looking for, price them out.
I think people get also, and it's probably because everybody wants to be seen like wearing the label, the latest label, or you know, people don't understand. That's another thing we can get into. But when you start at the couture houses, women will understand this, and you see this thing, this purse that you want. Okay, you're going to spend $2,000 on it, $10,000 on it. That same company is gonna send it to another company who's gonna make a knockoff of $5.
Right.
It's gonna cost you $15 to buy the purse. They change it slightly, but it's the same thing. So when you're, you know, you don't go to the most expensive one just because they have a label.
Right.
You know.
Or you can go, and I've done this. My late wife did this. You find a store like Marshall's, or TJ Maxx, those types of stores, and you look around, but sometimes you can find really good stuff for reduced prices.
Right.
And nobody knows where you bought it.
Exactly. And this is where discernment in our financial life has to come in. No matter if you're buying, a wedding dress or you're buying an investment. A lot of times people will buy stocks just because someone else told them to buy a stock or go here. But a lot of those companies, Merrill Lynch, the high end guys, they're told what to sell.
Sure, they are.
They're not.
Sure, they are.
If you're walking in with your $10,000 and they're going to give you something, they're going to say, look, we just had a meeting. You guys got to push the stock, and they're going to try to get you into it. So do your due diligence and don't leave it to somebody else, but then find someone like Steve who's going to work with you and guide you to the best place to be to get your financial house in order. And your craft business is going to be much better. I know mine would be. Steve, you would just freak out at this.
There is so there is no
help or like a group like Alcoholics Anonymous or
finance.
There's an FF Financial Failure Association.
FFA.
Did you know what the word fails means?
What?
First attempt in learning.
I like that.
FAIL, first attempt in learning.
Use that one.
Yeah.
And did you know that there is no such, if you try something, there is no such thing as failure. Either you have success or you learn. There is no failure.
I believe it.
There is no failure. And I believe that completely. There is no failure. You have success or you learn.
No one comes out of the chute and bats 500.
Rare. I mean, could it happen? Yeah. Very unlikely.
Babe Ruth missed a couple of them.
Right.
Yeah.
But
now they have that weird bat.
Oh.
Yankees doing that?
I'm in New York, and there's two camps. One camp says, let them use the bat. Now, these are Yankee fans. Let them use the bat. They're winning. We don't care. Then there's the rest of the league that says, what are you kidding me? The bats are corked. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Get rid of them. Who do you believe? I don't know. But who knows what's right or wrong?
They're in case people don't know, I just because this is a New York thing, they came up with a new bat, and usually a bat, it only has a specific. It has to be like 42 inches long or something. Yeah, there's really no other specifics other than the cork. What they've done is the barrel used to be at the top of the bat, and then you go down, it slims down to a handle. They moved that barrel down to the middle to where the player actually hits the ball the most. So if you're a batter that hits it off the tip, as opposed to hitting it in the middle, they're changing this bat so that and so the Yankees because they hit like 9 home runs.
It's an obscene amount, which is so unusual, and they're really calling for them to ban the bat because it's not fair.
Anyway.
I'm sorry, I had to do a little New York there.
I know.
I know that I was focusing in on the New York Yankees there.
I see that.
I'm a Dodger.
Let's bring it back. Okay.
Anywho, and this is why I stay quiet sometimes. Anyway, but we come to the part of the segment where I usually read the word of the day and I'll say a verse that has to do with something. But today something hit me that I picked 7 quotes. And I said, man, these quotes are going to be really good. And I thought about our business, and I said, let me read these quotes off to you. So here one, it says, it comes from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. And don't we do that? We lean on the understanding that we think that we know how to do everything, and we don't. That's why we bring different people. Next, I have be joyful in hope, patient affliction, faithful in prayer. Romans 22, which we do have to be joyful in whatever we're doing because that's our joy. I know I love making my clocks, so that's my joy, right? Next, it says, there's nothing wrong with staying small. You can do big things with a small team.
Yes, you can.
And
Absolutely.
let me tell you something. That one really hit home for me because we're a small team, but man, the stuff that we're doing, a lot. So that was a perfect quote. I picked
Yep.
7 because 7 is the spiritual number. That's good luck, you know. Okay, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Okay, and that's Joshua 1:9. Okay, here's this other one. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters.
Hmm.
You know, if you love the Lord, you're gonna do everything you can to
Mhm.
make it as beautiful as you can. I know I do. So that I put 120% when I do my clocks, you know.
Mhm.
Okay, this one. Commit to the Lord, whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. And that's literally in the Bible. It says here, Proverbs 14 something. I can't see because it's so small. Hold on. Okay.
That one I have to learn because I'm she always
There
tells
it is. Here it is. I blew it up. Commit to the Lord, whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. Proverbs 16:3. Okay. All right. And the last one. Submit to God and be at peace with him. In this way, prosperity will come to you. Job 22:21.
Mhm.
Now, if everybody knows Job was one that lost everything. And
Mm.
then he went through his trials and tribulation and got 10 times back than what he
Mhm.
got. So that is my
So,
quote.
You switched
so
that
I
up.
will tell you that based on what you just did, which I think is great, I am part of a larger company called Universal Wealth, and we're large and growing quickly.
Mhm.
They have 5 what they call the 5 F's, and that's what they live by in order. Faith is first. Faith, family, finance, fitness, fun.
I
Look
like
at
And
you guys.
almost every meeting that they have internally that they start
Mhm.
starts with a prayer.
All
Almost
the time.
every meeting that we do internally.
Yep. It has
So,
to because
yeah,
I always tell her we're the creative spirit. That creative spirit lives within us. When
right,
you're a
right.
believer, your spirit is done and you listen to it and it will give you the
Right.
final product of what you gotta do. You
It
gotta
will.
listen to that
Yep,
little
yep,
calm, sweet voice inside you.
yep.
He
And
just does
yeah, and it
wonderful
doesn't matter what you believe in or
things.
who you believe in or what. It doesn't matter.
Mhm,
Believe in something.
mhm,
We're
mhm,
not telling you have to believe a certain religion, certain way. We're not saying that, but believe in something. Have a something to guide you
mhm.
on the
Yep.
straight and
You
narrow.
have to know that there's someone bigger than you out there.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Well,
So where are we at?
so right now we are at going and saying goodbye because we have
Only
to show the
minutes.
other
Oh
commercials.
man, I was just getting into this.
I know everybody says that, but now we have to say because I have to show the other commercials and I don't have much time. And this thing
You know
will.
what, Steve? I'm going to be doing another show. It's not quite a podcast, but I'm going to call it a craftcast,
Okay.
a creative spirit. And so we're going to be able to bring you on again and get
Okay.
more into the nitty gritties of what people need for their business.
Yeah,
So we are
that'll
going
be
to
a nice
touch.
podcast.
Okay.
All right, here we
All right.
go. Thanks,
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
joining
Appreciate
us.
you both.
And
Thanks,
don't
Steve.
leave. We'll see you backstage. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, don't
Thank
go
you.
anywhere.
I won't. I'll stay here.